down with OTC? Down with OTC. OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Who's down with OTC? Who is down with OTC? Everybody's down with OTC. Welcome everybody. It is a brand new year. It is 2021. And I'll tell you, something exciting happened yesterday. A new lawsuit was filed, a countersuit, if you will, filed by none other than John Deaton out of Rhode Island. And we're going to dive into this thing. And I'm pretty excited about it because I got to tell you, this is well crafted, a beautifully written pleading that a lot of hard work went into it. There's some other petitioners on this as well, but let's jump into it. Let's get ready to go. Let's blast off and let's rock it. Let's go.
And now, the XRP Minute with Chip on the chain.
Chip here with the XRP Minute. Who is ready to jump into this? So it's always amazing that the community will look at different things and have different opinions of it. I saw a video by DM Logic, and I think he brought a nice counterbalance to the argument, saying, hey, we all got into this to make money. Don't be so attached to XRP. He sold, I think, at 47 or 48 cents, sold his stash, came back and went into, and I don't know if he's going to buy back in or what, but, he knew that it was going to take a drop. So he basically was able to maximize profits. And, I don't have any issue with that. I like counterbalance. I like counter thought. I like people that think differently. And I like there to be some balance in the community. And again, the way I come on here and Jeff comes on and, on the chain, we share opinions, and there are opinions. We hold them to be true. And, I always recommend you do your own, you do your own research, right? It's the best thing you can do is do your own research, because you're the one ultimately at risk, right? It's your dollars, your fiat currency, your pounds, your yen, whatever you're investing and turning into cryptocurrency, and it's an investment, right? So the same way I invest in stocks, in the same way you might invest in other things. So I just want to say a big shout out to Wen Mullet here. What up, peeps? First one in here. He already nailed he already squashed a troll that jumped in here, so thank you for that. Also want to say a big shout out to Connie. Connie, have a blessed and safe new year. Thank you for that, Connie. I really appreciate that. She's always a tremendous supporter of the channel. Want to say that. Gio's in here. GOV, When Mullet, hope all wishing you all a happy 2021. Appreciate that. And so I want to jump into this thing. I'm pretty excited about it. What's going on, Doc Column? Doc is in the house. Doc is in the house. All right, good to see that. And we have Apex Crypto, the Countersuit, said very well. Many of us hodlers were thinking. Yeah, this Countersuit's really well done. I mean, it's really well crafted. Obviously, we won't be able to get into the whole thing, but I want to pull out some major points of it. Really, a lot of what happens in this Countersuit happens up front in the pleading. So I wanted to go into that, and let's start sharing opinions on it. I want to hear what you guys are thinking as we go through this. Yeah, the idea of the live stream is that you create it. We mini workshop stuff, we deep dive stuff, we take a look at it, but you're the ones that are creating this with me. It's a partnership. We go through it, we're going through it together. You guys share your opinions, we'll throw them up on the screen, and we'll move on from there. So that's the way I like to do these things. Channing Smith's in the house, and yeah, guys, go ahead and tweet this out. Let's get this out there to as many people as we can, because community is really interested and really versed in seeing what's going on here. Let's go ahead and put this on here. So, like as I stated, John Deaton, Jordan Deaton, James Lamonte, Tyler Lamonte, Myra Lamonte, Mitchell, McKenna, Kristiana Warner, and all others similarly situated, known as the Petitioners, versus Elad Roisman as acting SEC chairman. A little bit of a typo there. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. So basically, Elad Roisman was taking over for the departed Jay Clayton. He's the one that's acting. The reason it's acting is because he's put into that temporarily, that position. He's not been 100%, but that could potentially change. But as the acting SEC chairman of the SEC, he's the one that they're putting this to, being the respondents. And I want to open this up with some facts. And again, very well crafted. Very well crafted, I must say. And then thank you for that, Mullet. Hit the like and subscribe. If it's your first time here, hit that like and subscribe. Click that little notification bell. The weird thing that Jeff and I always go through is we go through the analytics. And I'll have to pull that up sometime. We'll show it to you. It's crazy. 55 or 60% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribed. Otherwise, we would be like, hey, if 85 or 90% of you were, we'd be like, we wouldn't waste your time with asking you to subscribe. But if you like it, or if you semi-like it, or you think, hey, this might be good for the future, you do that. And then like later, if you want to unsub, that's always a potential possibility as well. So that's why we go ahead and hammer that home. Now, let me pull this full screen just so we can get into this. Statement of facts. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, known as the SEC's mission statement is to protect investors, promote fairness, share information about companies, to help investors make informed decisions. Now, you guys know that on these live streams, Jeff and I have really said that. The fiduciary of the SEC is to look out for investors, to look out for you. That's who it is, to look out for you and have your best interest. It's one of the reasons these public companies or any companies are regulated in the space, is to protect really the consumer. That's their mission statement, right? So that's one of the things that we've brought up on these streams, and that's why I really like the way this is crafted on the opening statement, is bringing it back to really what is the SEC's primary mission statement. And this is what they're doing here. So now let's jump back in. As chairman of the SEC, it was Jay Clayton's fiduciary duty to enforce the SEC statement. Instead of protecting investors and sharing information to help investors make informed decisions, the respondent knowingly and intentionally caused multi-billion-dollar losses to innocent investors who have purchased, exchanged, received, and or acquired the digital asset known as XRP, including the name Petitioners and all others similarly situated. Now, what does that line mean, others similarly situated? That means you. Oh yeah, this was filed on your behalf, okay? So others similarly situated is you, because you went ahead and purchased XRP. If you hold it, if you don't, that's okay. I mean, it doesn't matter, because, and I'll go into this a little bit later, you'd be like, you know what, I like checking out this live stream, but I'm not really an XRP, or I sold my XRP bag. That's fine, because this is not a, if you're looking at this like the SEC is coming after Ripple, I think you're missing it. SEC is coming after Ripple, which has long, deep issues with every altcoin. This is an open attack on the altcoins, period. If you're down there, you're in the number 11 or 15 or 20 altcoin, and you're like, oh, thank God they didn't come after me. Oh no, this is an attack on the entire alt marketplace. And Brad Garlinghouse also noted that. Again, let's jump in. So this is great. Now, on our behalf, this was filed. And again, like I said, it's really well crafted. On December 22nd, 2020, 7 years after the digital asset XRP was introduced for public sale, establishing itself as the third largest cryptocurrency in the world at the direction of Clayton, the improper motive and specific intent to cause irreparable harm, the SEC filed an enforcement action against Ripple Labs, better known as Ripple, its CEO Brad Garlinghouse, and co-founder Chris Larsen, alleging that from 2013 to present, Ripple has and continues to sell unregistered securities with the digital asset XRP. Emphasis added. Now, XRP is the third largest virtual currency with billions of dollars trading every day. XRP trades on exchanges in line with the two largest cryptocurrencies being Bitcoin and Ether. The SEC has previously deemed BTC, Bitcoin, and Ethereum as non-securities. XRP, according to Ripple, is used as a currency by as many as 150 third-party consumers and commercial applications. Now, one of the things that I love about what this suit is, and what Deaton does here, as you know, as far as being the lead attorney representing this, is that he's crafting a really well done argument back and forth, right? First off, we want to establish what Ripple is. You know, that the very opening paragraph talks about Ripple the SEC violating its principal function, right? Its mission statement to protect consumers. And then everything we see after this is sort of building that argument into what kind of harm has been done. And what he's talking about here is the fact that this huge irreparable harm has been done to the industry, right? And then, like I said, we're not going to go into it all, but we will go into some of the we'll check out a bunch of things, but I want to go through this and stuff through the beginning part, because I think this is powerful. So prior to the enforcement action, XRP was the third largest cryptocurrency in the world. It had been traded openly for over 200 exchanges globally since 2013. It is actively traded in the United States during the time on popular exchanges such as Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, Voyager, Crypto.com, Uphold, etc. The head of asset management at Sygnum, a Swiss bank in Singapore, authored an article to the public recommending everyone increase exposure to the tokens of the future. Now, what were these tokens of the future, right? And the reason that this is being brought to the forefront, because anytime you look at a third party or somebody significant like the head of asset manager at Sygnum, based out of Switzerland, it's used and crafted in this way as a thought leader in the space, right? So somebody giving a lot of thought to what are the coins of the future. Now, let's jump back in here. So they recommended to the public you increase exposure to the tokens of the future and list those tokens to be Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP. Sygnum classifies Bitcoin as the future asset for the store of value and wealth. It classified Ether as an infrastructure play of the future. And it classified XRP as not a security, but as a technology of the future regarding payments, right? This is big because this is exactly what it is. And we'll see a little bit more as we jump into this, how that argument is crafted along the way. So if you guys have questions along the way too, or you have statements you want to throw in there, go ahead. We'll go ahead and do that as well. As this is funny. So Icon Pawn says, hey, just crying in the corner while I watch Doge shoot up. Haha, how's everything going over there? So yeah, you know, Doge is a funny coin. I mean, it's like I've jumped in and out of it at times. You know, it's kind of a fun. It's a cute little dog too, by the way. But let's jump back in. Let's see what else we have here as far as we make our way into this puppy. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, known as DeFi, and central bank digital currencies, also referred to as CBDCs, have been the most discussed issues in global finance and money during the last 3 years. For global governments, after addressing the need for financial relief caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, digital currencies and CBDCs have become the most significant financial topic in the world today. China's President Xi has urged world leaders to support CBDCs, and at a recent G20 meeting in November of 2020, he stressed the need for CBDCs. Japan's accelerated the rollout of the digital yen and CBDC. Canada announced it will soon launch a CBDC. And the Bank of England stated digital currencies may replace banks' roles in payments altogether. The European Central Bank said that Europe is losing in the CBDC race and there will be more significant consequences. PayPal CEO Dan Schulman recently stated, "There is no doubt people are flocking to digital currencies and CBDCs will be the future. There's no doubt that CBDCs will be issued directly by central banks to people." A top Japanese banker said digital currency development is the top priority that Japan is behind China and South Korea. The head of Russian Parliament for Financial Markets stated that the crypto ruble will start in 2021. China's already created a CB-backed, central bank-backed digital currency that it's been using for the last couple of months in Chinese cities. In the last few years, Ripple emerged as the main challenger to SWIFT, offering instant cross-border payments utilizing XRP. Acting Director of the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the OCC, Brian Brooks, publicly stated that government should utilize existing private companies like Ripple and its technology to replace the SWIFT system. Now, Jeff started a live stream this morning, had a little bit of technical difficulties, but he brings up the main argument. Why is this happening exactly? I think that last paragraph, when we talk about SWIFT, right? Who really is in charge of SWIFT? If SWIFT wants to go ahead and stop everything that's going in Iran, right, or North Korea, what do? They pull the plug. The U.S. has a tremendous amount of power when it comes to SWIFT, right? It started in the U.S. It's something that has the power. You take away SWIFT, and guess what happens? Where does the power go? And what happens exactly? So is there an ulterior motive for coming after and looking at something that's providing a solution in the cross-border remittance payment market? You know, it's a question I throw out there, and Jeff expressed it really well this morning. Is it something where we look at this and say to ourselves, I mean, 7 years go by and 2+ years go by, Bitcoin, Ethereum, not at all. No, not a security. But this is what I love about how well crafted this countersuit is, and I want to jump back in here. So Brian Brooks stated publicly that in the U.S. there are too many agencies in finance and banking. That is absolutely 100% spot on. He openly asked the question, do we think it's best for the government to build a CBDC or utilize the private sector, which is already built? Brian Brooks, without question, was discussing XRP and the XRP ledger. There's no doubt that it was XRP he was referencing because he stated that the technology to build a CBDC was already built, but that the only issue was the lack of regulatory clarity. He could not have been referencing Bitcoin or Ether because they have long enjoyed regulatory clarity as being declared non-securities by the SEC. And this is a phenomenal point, right? Bringing it home to the fact that, you know, and I've often made the comment that Brian Brooks, without talking about the ledger, XRPL, or also talking about XRP specifically, in other words, he didn't name it, but this perfectly makes the argument. If he was referring to Bitcoin or he's referring to Ethereum, they already have clarity. So when he's talking about not having clarity in the space and already being built, he's only talking about one product, right? He's talking about XRP. But you could be saying to yourself, he's also talking about Stellar and the digital asset XLM, right? And that's a possibility as well. I mean, they're brother and sister. They're kind of siblings that have had somewhat of a falling out, but they both would fill that role. So he's talking about one or the other when he's talking about not having regulatory clarity, because Stellar Foundation doesn't have regulatory clarity. XLM doesn't have regulatory clarity either. But because of the size of the asset and because it's the third most traded by market cap, we believe, and what he's seeing inside this countersuit is the exact same thing. So he said he could. So additionally, Brian Brooks has stated the industry needs to know whether the SEC thinks XRP is a security. Ripple announced it intends to leverage its payment platform and the XRPL for delivery of the CBDCs. Garlinghouse publicly stated that central banks are looking to issue central bank digital currencies on the XRP ledger. Okay, this is huge. Why? Because now he's crafting the argument, the fact that you have the XRPL, right? And you have this public statements that Brian Brooks has publicly spoken around the idea of clarity. Now what we're doing is pulling in the fact that Ripple has publicly announced that there are central banks that want to utilize the XRP ledger to be able to build upon, right? Ripple presented a plan to host CBDCs altogether with the XRP token. The XRPL will host CBDCs, and public-private entities are able to modify CBDCs according to their needs. So look, the opportunity to craft this, and create a central bank digital currency, the fact that they can go ahead and shape it to their needs is pretty big. So we're already starting to build this storyline that the CBDCs, the fact that Ripple's already publicly announced that the both XRP and the XRPL would be utilized. You have the World Economic Forum, which also named XRP as the most relevant crypto for the CBDCs by banks. We have David Schwartz, that's Ripple's CTO, who says that the XRPL will bridge between CBDCs. In short, XRP acts as a bridge currency. So the bridge currency there, XRP is vital, right, to having the interoperability. The former CFTC chairman, Chris Giancarlo, who heads the Digital Dollar Project for the U.S. government, has stated publicly in writing that the XRP is not a security. So if Chris Giancarlo, who runs the Dollar Project for who? The United States government, if he's actually part of this, putting this together for the government, he's the former chair, it carries a lot of weight, saying it's not a security. And he outlined a brilliant paper, I say post, whatever you want to call it, that explains that even if it met one or two prongs of the Howey test, it doesn't necessarily make it a security, which I thought he leveraged it really, really well. I want to jump in here and see if anybody has any questions or any statements. So Apex says, in his opinion or her opinion, Brooks was talking beyond just regulatory clarity, beyond tokenomics, rather around custody and eventually insurance of deposits. Yeah, it's a good observation. Yeah, so SPO was saying, good morning. Hey, I read the document this morning while doing laundry. Really good stuff. Yeah, I can't agree more. I'm just really elated at how well this is crafted. Put some time into it. And it's kind of funny when I compare this versus the SEC complaint against Ripple. It's interesting. You look at two different pleadings. You look at two different sort of mindsets. And this right here is just nailing it one after the other because it's crafting the argument. It's a strong countersuit. Strong. And I have to say, as the more we jump into this and dive in, I think we're going to find that wait a minute, I haven't seen this one. So XRP says, according to Brad Kimes, Trump already deemed stablecoins a security, thus making XRP a possible security if it's a global stablecoin. Yeah, but it doesn't meet the criteria of being a global stablecoin, and also too, there's a lot of speculation about what's going on as far as regulation around stablecoins. Obviously, look, when you have something that's disruptive, when I say disruptive, coming into the space and eroding hundreds of years of a certain sort of a path, and all of a sudden you have fintechs coming in. And what are they doing really? They're destroying the banks. What's the promise of Bitcoin? I mean, Bitcoin came in like a sheep and is like exited as a lion, right? So you can't stop it. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. It had regulatory clarity all along because it's completely decentralized. There's no organization. There's no foundation that runs it. And when we're looking at stable coins, look, the jury's still out, but it's Ilhan Omar, which is a representative in the House of Representatives here in Congress, has publicly has come out with a potential bill saying that she wants to go ahead and regulate stable coins and crypto by the banks, right? So what we're doing is we're trying to go back and hold that control. The government wants to control, yeah, in the U.S., but it doesn't matter what country you're in. This is what governments all want to do. They want to control. They want a piece of the action. They want to tax it. They want to regulate it, and they want to control it. This is what they do. And it's pretty much essentially what happens. Here we go. So another one from Apex Crypto. Does anyone know if the suit has to wait for conclusion of the SEC case against Ripple? What time frame does it look like for a countersuit? Well, just like any countersuit that you would add, and again, we would probably want to get some clarity on this as far as from Jordan Deaton, the John who filed this lawsuit. Countersuit. It kind of depends, but just like anything, you bring a countersuit, you have to respond as a party, or if it goes before a preliminary judge, there's always the off chance that it could be thrown out or not even proceed, but chances are it's going to go ahead and proceed anyway. Regardless, it's entered into the domain. Now Ripple has something to leverage that was filed on behalf of investors. A lot of what's in here is in the public record, which is fantastic. Regardless if it goes forth or not, I have a feeling it's pretty strong that it probably will go forward just because of the way it's asserted. Not only that, but the fiduciary responsibility of the SEC is to protect the investor. Look out for the investor. It's why these public companies are so carefully regulated, because any missteps that could potentially hurt who? Investors. It can hurt you if you're investing in these companies. So I feel like we'll have to wait and see how it pans out, but potentially SEC will have to respond to this. And initially a judge will come in and get involved and have to find out whether it could always get thrown out, but they say it'll proceed, and then boom, we're going to proceed with this counter suit going along. I don't think it's not necessarily dependent on what the SEC and complain against Ripple. I think it's a separate thing. It's a separate suit. But again, a lot of the same principles are implied here. And I think that almost any judge, at least here in the United States, when they see that, okay, the fiduciary was to the investor, to people who are investors, and eroded billions of dollars and hurt the investor, I think that almost any judge, and I don't care what political affiliation they come from, I believe that they're going to look at this as like, okay, investors are being hurt here. Let's kind of try to figure this out. But again, it's just me. It's my guesstimate. We'd have to find out and see and get a little bit more to see what's happening here. GDLT says XRP community doesn't need to be involved for XRP to be declared a security. I'd rather see the decision made without our involvement, but always enjoy seeing the community come together. Yeah, I agree with that, but I think part of the problem with the complaint of the SEC v. Ripple, there's a big issue here, is the fact that XRP is completely independent. It's completely decentralized from Ripple, because Ripple cannot affect anything as far as the outcome of any amendments added, because of the validator nodes. They don't control the majority 51+%. And because of that, if Ripple, the company, goes away tomorrow or next week or next year, and Garlinghouse has famously said that, it's not going to affect XRP. Now, anybody can pick up XRP and run with it, right? They could find use cases for it. You have the XRPL, and it's not going to affect it. And this is part of the principal problems that I believe the SEC is going to have. Now, could they levy a fine saying they were selling unregistered securities early on? Could they say that what JP Thero, from the CEO of Uphold, has asserted, that could something be called a security at one point, but then later it turns out that it more metamorphosizes into something else as a digital currency, as a cryptocurrency? So yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. So let's jump back into this. So Congressman Tom Emmer has publicly declared that XRP is clearly not a security. Japan, Singapore, the UK, Switzerland, and the UAE have all declared XRP to be a non-security. XRP is declared a non-security according to Japan's Financial Services Agency. SBI, a Japanese corporation, has an esports team and pays its players in the digital asset XRP. In this instance, XRP is utilized as a payroll currency. Now, why is the complaint going in this direction of talking about currency and talking about a non-security? Establishing an argument, showing a precedence that there is proof in the ecosystem that you've got an esports team that's getting paid as like a payroll. Now, we talked about this early on in the complaint, And people have taken some umbrance with, well, why is Garlinghouse and Larsen selling? Well, a lot of the reason they sold a lot of their XRP is part of their compensation package. Some in other realms and companies get paid in stock options. They have the exercise to exercise options that they want to go ahead and sell. It's carefully regulated. The problem we have here is there is no regulation. And what I like about this complaint, it talks about 7 years have gone by. 7 years, no clarity. The third largest cryptocurrency doesn't get clarity, but the first two primary, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they get the clarity that is much needed. So UK's Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, unlike the SEC, provides a clear guidance to investors. I like how he says, unlike the SEC, 7 years, right? Businesses regarding crypto assets and digital currency. The FCA has stated that crypto fits into several brackets. A security token, B, a utility token, and C, an exchange token. A security token is more like akin to a stock certificate or a debt instrument. It provides title rights to a company. A utility token is designed for a specific purpose. An exchange token is traded on platforms for value in something. The FCA declared XRP to be a hybrid token, constituting both a utility and exchange token. It was determined to not be a security token. Now, what they're doing is they're establishing precedents here by the fact that you had the FCA, that they were, it's kind of a nice little dig, but a well crafted dig at the SEC, saying, well, the FCA came out with 3 prongs, right? 3 different things. It could be a security, it could be a utility token, it could also be an exchange token, right? And what they declared XRP to be was a kind of a hybrid, not a security token, but a use case and also a digital asset sort of a token, right? So it kind of oscillates between those two. Now, by declaring that right there off the bat, again, a very strong argument is being made and levied here. Use cases, and in this case, what the UK's FCA is actually doing here. Ripple partner Zago announced that they are utilizing XRP to move money across Africa. The Office of Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum produced a report on blockchain technology and discussed the advantages of XRP as an alternative in what? Payments. BitX, an exchange in the UAE, offers XRP and expanding to India with a wallet trading platform utilizing the crypto assets Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Litecoin, and BCH. Deal, partnered with Coinbase, which sells XRP, launched the crypto payroll tool that allows international workers to be paid Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP, allowing near instantaneous withdrawals. In other words, international workers withdraw their paychecks in XRP. XRP is used as a substitute for fiat currency. This is very important right here, and this is something that I believe a lot of the stuff that's made in here inside this document is very well done, because what we're going to see is this right here. If we drill down on that, XRP is used as a substitute for fiat currency. Well, if that's the case, one of the things that's pervasive inside of the SEC v. Ripple complaint, one of the things that they allege is the fact that there were no restrictions around Ripple actually selling the digital asset, right, of XRP. Like when they would go ahead and send it, like give it to MoneyGram, for example. Here it is, more of an investment tool. What did MoneyGram do? What did everybody do? They instantaneously sold it. So what does that look like? That looks like it's being used as a cryptocurrency. It has a value that can be the equivalent in whatever country's fiat, and it's interoperable through the XRPL, right? So again, what they're doing here is making this phenomenal statement of the fact that it's being used as payroll, paying people compensation, and it's being used as a cryptocurrency. So this is a very good move here. Japanese financial giant SBI sponsors and/or owns an esports team. SBI announced it's paying its customers not in the Japanese yen, but in XRP. Like with Deal, XRP is being used as a substitute to fiat currency. SBI Ripple Asia CEO publicly stated that the CEO of Japanese financial giant SBI Holdings is XRP's biggest fan and wants the next World's Fair in Japan to only accept XRP as currency payment. Novati partnered with Ripple to enable real-time remittances between Australia and Asia. Goldman Sachs, former executive, resigned and goes to work for Ripple related to the FX markets. As stated, SBI was testing XRP in the FX markets, and the global FX markets equal to 1 to 7 quadrillion. Boom. The IMF in its publication lists 2 digital assets that can be used as a bridge currency, XRP and the JP Morgan coin. In 2015, the DOJ and FinCEN categorized XRP as a virtual currency. Now, this last one, you got to remember that when we deal with U.S. law, we're dealing with judges, we're dealing with counsel representing 2 sides of an argument. Of course, you got to look at what's happening in the world, right? You got to look at, the fact that UK, Europe, Japan all have regulators that come out and said not a security, right? It's important to note that. But what carries a little bit more weight is when you have regulators in the United States, okay? We've had the Department of Justice refer to XRP as a currency. They never called it an unregistered, they said it was not a security. You don't have the Department of Justice referring to it as a unregistered security. It's a cryptocurrency. Then you have the FinCEN, which is goes after the bad actors in the space. Well, they've also come out and said it's a virtual currency. So that's going to carry a lot of weight. Even though it's one dash line in here, this is powerful right here. Why? Because we already have some precedents set with regulators in the United States here. Then, hence, internationally and in the United States, XRP was being described as a currency, virtual currency or commodity or utility token, right? And we already know that UK has come out and said it's a hybrid. It's a part utility and it's part virtual currency. The digital asset XRP and Ripple are well known to the respondent and officials in the U.S. government. In 2015, the U.S. government entered into a consent agreement over Ripple's sale of XRP to a well-known Bitcoin and cryptocurrency advocate and investor, Roger Ver. Ripple paid a fine for this XRP distribution and agreed not to establish Ripple and or a XRP wallet. So what they're going back to is in 2015, FinCEN already stepped in and said, hey, look, you stepped over the line because you made this investment to, very prolific, well-known Roger Ver in the space. They came down and said, you can't do that. They fined them, and now they get clarity. So for 7 years, Ripple's been saying to the Securities and Exchange Commission, guys, where's the line? We're trying to conduct business here. We're trying to become this amazing world leader when it comes to the payment space. And meanwhile, we're wondering where the line is. Well, FinCEN was very simply drawing the line in the sand. They went ahead and they paid the fine, and now you have precedents, right? So you can refer back to this, go back to FinCEN saying, okay, great, they paid it for the XRP distribution. And now you got FinCEN calling it a digital currency. So this is where I think some of the case is going to fall apart on the SEC side, only because they're going to have a difficult time going against what lawmakers and regulators in the United States have already deemed this a virtual currency. Okay, so let me put this one on the screen. This is Oz Canyil. It says the executives of Ripple got shares of Ripple as compensation. Why did they get an additional to the shares so much token without any plan like a stock option plan? This is just greedy. You can look at that as being greedy, but you remember that when you're dealing if you're dealing with the fintech space, the deal with, and it's a good argument. I like the fact that you bring this up, but it's a little bit different when you have a public company, a publicly traded company, where the SEC is regulating it. When you get stock options for compensation, a lot of employees get some sort of a stock option that they have an opportunity. Once it vests over a period of time, they can buy it at a set price. It all depends on how they set it up, but it's carefully regulated by the SEC. Now, the argument you're bringing up says it looks a little bit greedy because why didn't they get stock options? Well, because first off, number one, the way Ripple's set up as a company, it's a private company. We know Garlinghouse owns, I think, 6 or 7%. We know the largest bit of the company is owned by Chris Larsen. We also know that SBI, Qatar, not SBI, but Qatar actually owns roughly 9% and change. And then you have all of the investors. There's been over close to $296 odd million, just shy of $300 million. in different rounds from a C to a Series A, Series B, Series C that has been invested in the marketplace, right? Or actually into Ripple itself. So it's all private, but you have investors that have a stake, and based on the time that they invested a certain set amount of money, whatever the valuation of the company was at the time, that's ultimately going to define exactly what percentage it's worth. You know, if the company was only worth 2 billion and they put in X amount, then you do some simple math, you find out what percentage of that vested amount versus the valuation, and that will tell you the percent they own. But it's a lot deeper than that. That's a generic way to look at it. A lot of times it depends on how the company is set up, how the control of the company is set up. A lot of times there have been instances where public companies, where they own a bigger share of it, but the control as far as the direction of the company really goes to the initial founders. There's all kinds of ways you can set this up, but that's one of the things I want you to look at. Is there wouldn't have been internal stock options. They already own a piece of the company, and the fact is it's not a public company, so you don't have money flowing into the company where you have potential growth. Everything is now in a private company. It's a little bit different, but this is fintech, right? This is a digital asset, XRP. Even though I have nothing to do with it, the success of XRP is not depending on Ripple necessarily. Ripple's success is very much tied to the success of XRP. You have centralized company versus a decentralized asset. So when you're looking at these two things, they're very different. But I mean, your argument is well taken. I'm not 100% convinced that it really suits the digital asset, you know, and cryptocurrency sort of space. Because, you know, now if the company was public, why do you think Ripple's been talking about doing an IPO, right? They have been talking about this for some time, but this has been going on for a while. This wasn't filed when Jay Clayton left. The complaint, there's a lot going on. This has been going on probably well over a year and a half, as far as because we know that on the tolling agreement. And the tolling agreement stated that Ripple would be putting aside any statute of limitation, right? And there were different periods along that inside the complaint. So that's why I think that this doesn't really apply here. But again, I appreciate the comment on that. So Apex says, remember in 2013 when Ripple started all this, there was no regulatory clarity on anything related to crypto. These early crypto companies were making it all up. And that was part of the issue. It's part of why we had that crackdown in 2017 with all those ICOs. You had those initial coin offerings. Everyone was coming up with any kind of a coin they could think of. Then you had exit scamming going on. Then you had this case with Kik and the Kin token that just settled in October. The structure of that's changed as far as Kik is concerned, but the digital asset is still alive. A $5 million fine was paid. Let's jump back in over here. Additionally, in 2015, the DOJ, Department of Justice in the United States, and FinCEN settled the case with Ripple. The DOJ and FinCEN classified and or determined that XRP was a virtual currency and that the Ripple is a money transmitter of XRP. The settlement with the U.S. government required Ripple's XRP transactions to comply with laws that do not apply to securities transactions. However, more than 5 years later, despite one arm of the United States government declaring XRP a virtual currency, Jay Clayton and the Securities and Exchange Commission, through its enforcement action, allege all XRP as securities. The enforcement action is not limited to XRP sold to Roger Ver or others directly from Ripple, but all XRP, including XRP purchased by investors with absolutely no connection to Ripple or its executives. And this is a key fact right here, just because you have this, the fact that Ripple is a decentralized company. And, sometimes I'll even say, I'll mean to say XRP and I'll be talking about Ripple because there is some close association. But the fact is Ripple cannot control the price of XRP. Ripple can't propose amendments. Ripple could say, hey, to the validators, we want to burn 50 billion of our supply like Stellar did with the XLM token and burn it. Well, guess what? It goes out to the validators and you need 80% consensus to be able to go ahead and pass an amendment like that. We had backup on this from none other than David Schwartz, which said, yeah, that's always a possibility. But proposing something and actually having the ability to control it, two different things. So the fact is there is decentralization here, and that's a really good point that's made here. The issue of XRP and its classification as a virtual currency and or commodity and or security is an issue Clayton himself has been asked repeatedly and publicly on several occasions. Clayton at least 2 years prior to December 22nd, 2020 enforcement action, declaring XRP a security, was specifically asked about XRP publicly. On one occasion, Clayton was interviewed by CNBC and was asked directly if the SEC was going to officially declare XRP a non-security, similarly to the SEC declaring the two larger crypto assets, Bitcoin and Ether, non-securities. Clayton said, "If it's a security, we will regulate it." And then the CNBC anchor pushed back at this non-answer and stated to Clayton that it seems to be some confusion regarding XRP because the SEC has not officially declared it as a non-security like it has Bitcoin and Ethereum. Clayton smugly responded, "I hope I just cleared up any confusion by stating, if it's a security, we will regulate it." It should be noted that Clayton was asked about XRP by CNBC during this very time period. The SEC now claims Ripple and Garlinghouse were actively and continuously selling illegal securities in the form of XRP. Yet, Clayton waited for several more years before filing the enforcement action declaring all XRP as securities. So this is, I love the argument they're making here because you're talking about the former, Jay Clayton running, the former commissioner of the SEC going on these shows publicly, even being pressed to say, what's happening here? Is it a currency? Is it something that we can actually look forward at? And he's saying, well, if it's a security, it'll be regulated. Okay, well that doesn't quite solve the problem, right? What solves the issue is clarity, and this is something that has not been done for some time. I'm going to go back in. Let's see. Let me continue reading some of this. And then we'll take a look at some of your questions or comments or whatever. But again, this is very well crafted, this whole argument here. Very well put together. And it's long. We're not going to get into everything. I just want to kind of draw some of the base stuff, and then we'll get into some conversation about it. But let's take a look here. Let me look here. Okay. Let's jump back into it. So Ether, where were we? So it's not a security. Trying to find my place here. I actually lost it. Okay, so Clayton was asked directly about XRP approximately 1 year after CNBC's interview while attending a FinTech 2019 event. Ironically, both Garlinghouse and Clayton were guest speakers at the FinTech conference. The topic of discussion was digital currencies, and Garlinghouse spoke immediately after Clayton. So they know what's going on. Clayton knows Garlinghouse, right? And Garlinghouse has been very vocal, saying, "Hey, we have no clarity. So Clayton was. Why do I keep losing my place here? I switched screens and it's all crazy here. So the topic of discussion, digital currency, spoke after Clayton. Again, Clayton was asked about the SEC would declare XRP a non-security. Clayton responded that the SEC does not comment on specific products, although SEC had commented publicly on the specific products of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Clayton stated that he very much appreciated the XRP issue, but could not comment. So he's been pressed on this, time and time again, being pressed. Is it not? And this is public stuff. And what's happened as a result? Can't comment on it. But he was happy to comment on Bitcoin, thrilled to comment on Ethereum, right? So that's interesting to say the least here. There we go. Oh boy. The SEC could have made the claim against XRP in 2017 when the SEC brought the initial coin offering cases against several companies, alleging that the digital token was being offered constituted as an unregistered security. Two of these cases involve EOS and the KIN tokens. These companies raised capital by offering initial coin offerings. These tokens were promised by the promoter who received the money for that promise. As discussed in the accompanying memorandum of support, this ICO scenario fits squarely in the four-factor Howey test of what constitutes a security. Because these ICOs constituted securities, the SEC shut it down. Ripple and XRP, however, were left alone by the SEC during these high-profile ICO prosecutions. In fact, Garlinghouse spoke out against these token assets. In 2017, XRP had openly been traded for 4 years at the time this happened. Although the SEC and Clayton did not affirmly declare XRP as a security, similarly to Ether and Bitcoin, its actions are implied that XRP in fact is not a security. During the period, the SEC now claims XRP was an unregistered security. The SEC granted Ripple permission to take a minority stake in the publicly traded company MoneyGram International, MGI. Ripple invested $50 million, purchasing approximately 9% of MoneyGram. In SEC complaint, page 58, 4, the SEC approved this purchase of MoneyGram with the full knowledge that Ripple would encourage MGI or MoneyGram to use the digital asset XRP as the cross-border utility token required for remittances. Hence, the SEC allowed the use of this so-called illegal security to be utilized not just by Ripple, but by MoneyGram as well. The SEC claims or admits to this knowledge when it states that Ripple paid money transmitters significant financial compensation, often paid in XRP. Now, I think this is significant for a number of reasons. First off, you have Ripple going to the SEC and getting permission, and SEC knowing full well of exactly what Ripple is, about the digital asset, knowing that the digital asset XRP would be used and would be sold immediately. And this is one of the things in the SEC versus Ripple complaint where they talk about the fact that this money transmitter did not have any restrictions around the funds which were provided in XRP were sold immediately. Again, why would they do that? It's a virtual currency. So there you go. This one comes from Ron Drake. Wants to know, do you think that this and the U.S. giving up control with Jay Clayton's move, they either have to give XRP the designation and SWIFT doing this, the U.S. is giving up control, or kill the crypto market? Yeah, again, I never really saw this going. Yeah, thanks for that, Ron. I never really saw this going the way of trying to eliminate the crypto market. In a weird sort of a way, you got to look at this complaint against Ripple as a way to get to some pretty quick resolution. SEC stated pretty early days, and we heard this a lot from Hester Pierce, that she didn't want to go ahead, and the SEC was very concerned about crafting regulations that could ultimately potentially hurt the space. So what they were doing was kind of pulling back and waiting, but you can only use that excuse for so long because they got bypassed by regulators in the UK, in Switzerland, in Australia, Japan, you name it, Europe. They've already been bypassed. We already have rulings on that. We already have the FinCEN that's already chimed in on this whole thing. So part of this thing is that I don't necessarily believe there will be fines issued. But the sooner you get this thing behind us, the sooner, because what this is ultimately going to show is that whatever the legislation that comes out of this, what the finality of a decision on this is going to provide clarity in the space. So if you're an altcoin fintech company and you created a coin and you have a specific use case, and there's so many good projects out there. Again, this will be known as the Ripple decision. It'll be the same way we refer to the Howey test as far as unregistered securities being sold with the promise of, and why they declared that Howey Orange Grove, grower expanding their business. We're going to look at this Ripple decision, which is going to carry the weight of the marketplace. I don't think the U.S. government or the idea of destroying cryptocurrency. So guess what happens? It's declared a security. Do you think that's going to stop anything? It's not. It's going to hurt the United States. It's going to hurt growth here. Every company moves out of the United States, and it'll be a field day for every country trying to attract these fintech companies who are leaving and giving them, sort of tax incentives, other ways to sort of lure them to come to their country. And who loses big in this? The U.S. The world's going to go on. The world says, screw you. We don't need the U.S. We're moving on. We don't need your U.S. dollar. We don't need your dominance. We don't need any of this. And we've moved on. And don't let the door hit you, right, on the where the good Lord split you. So they're not going to care too much about this. I'm going to continue on with this. The SEC knew that MGI would sell XRP in the secondary markets to investors such as the named petitioners and all others similarly situated. So who are those others similarly situated? Anybody who has invested in XRPs. What I love about this is the fact that this was filed on your behalf, right? Everybody who's invested in but it goes beyond you, really. I mean, this particular complaint here, this pleading, is against who? It's addressing the whole thing about XRP and the security situation, but don't make no mistake, this is about the entire altcoin marketplace. The OCC in April 2020 issued a notice to banks in the U.S. that they could custody crypto assets. You remember that was a big decision we heard from Brian Brooks. Clayton issues a letter that says the SEC agrees with the OCC that the U.S. banks can now custody cryptocurrency. So do you think there was any conversation prior to that? Do you think Brian Brooks went and spoke to the somebody inside the SEC before issuing this, right? Because would the SEC now come out and go against Brian Brooks and the OCC and saying, oh, SEC doesn't agree with it? Now, that's funny because they totally were in lockstep with exactly what the OCC was doing here. By being lockstep with what the OCC was doing and going ahead and agreeing with the banks having the ability to custody cryptocurrency, well, the larger decision becomes, well, then why would the SEC go against what FinCEN and the Department of Justice has already said? That's why I think it's going to be an uphill battle. And that's why I think that everything in that complaint against Ripple from the SEC falls very short. Now, could they go back and say, well, at the time it was an unregistered security, it was not a decentralized, in the grand scheme of how we look and categorize cryptocurrency as being decentralized. At the time, it wasn't a decentralized asset, so therefore it could have been an unregistered security. That's not strong enough. They have to prove the fact that there was no investment contract. People that invested in XRP didn't think they were buying a share of Ripple, the company. People were very well aware of the fact that it was a decentralized, so it doesn't fit that part of the Howey test. There's no promise of it going up in value. Now, Ripple never said, hey, buy XRP because when there's profits to be taken, again, like in the Howey, what happened with the Howey test was that the Orange Grove was expanding and they were looking to sell more of these parcels of land, and they would work that land and be able to go ahead and provide some, they would work it. You didn't have to go there, but there was a promise of profits. We would then take these oranges and sell them at market, and then there would be a profit, sort of a share involved, right? So that is sold on a future, and that's another prong that doesn't meet the Howey test, and the fact that Ripple never sold XRP in that sort of a category where they were saying there was something to be expected, some sort of a profit. Now, what was inferred was the fact that it's a digital currency, and as a digital currency, it did have an equivalent value in whatever the local fiat might have been. So whoever was converting it via the XRPL, let's say if you have Japanese, you have yen, and you wanted to take your XRP and convert it to the fiat, right? Or let's say that you live in the UK, you wanted to convert it to the British pound, or you live in you live in Europe and you wanted to, depending on what country you're from, your equivalent of the euro. So the fact is, it's being utilized as a cryptocurrency. So let's go here. EdSec Consulting, the U.S. mess with the economy, the virus, the trade wars, turning on its allies. People are moving on as the great empire eats itself and collapses. Asia, Europe, Scandinavia eating the U.S.'s lunch. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. They are moving on. Eating lunch, yeah, I mean, eating lunch, I mean, it's potentially there. I mean, they have moved on. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's why I said that they're not going to sit there and wait to see what happens. Hey, what's going on, Notorious? Good to see you, man. This is GT50, says it looks like XRP will be traded as a derivative or used as a stable coin, so I guess we can expect 5 times when it gets legs. Yeah, maybe. I'm not so sure. I'm not 100% convinced of that, but it's always a potential, no doubt. Bora Surjbas says full support from Turkey to Ripple and XRP, which is the future in money transfers and innovative tech. We invested and will more. Very well said. And again, this is exactly when you see support coming in from all these countries around the world, they're moving on. They're not, I mean, yeah, everyone's kind of looking to see what will happen as far as this case is concerned, but no one's losing any sleep over it. If you're outside the US, you're like, okay, it's interesting to see what happens there, but we don't care. And all it'll do is basically flush this industry from the United States, which is why I don't think it'll ultimately happen. Giuseppe Accardo says the SEC's lawsuit is weak. It's a desperate move to try to get control over the only crypto coin that won't leave the U.S. behind when other countries like Russia and China already have their national crypto. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's a desperate move to gain control, but the control's there, right? It might be a desperate move to get clarity, because I think the SEC has been stuck between a rock and a hard place. This has gone on for 7+ years. They've chimed in on other coins, and then I brought up the fact that I could be wrong. I've been searching for it. Sometimes I bookmark stuff. I come across so much great information, and I don't always. I either bookmark it if it's on Twitter. I try to download it, and somehow I misplaced the fact. But in 2014. Vitalik Buterin came out and said, from Ethereum, came out and thanked an investor. And I thought it was Roger Ver. I could be wrong, but he thanked an investor, something to the effect of, if it wouldn't have been for your investment in Ether, the project probably wouldn't have continued. So if that's the case, don't we have the same thing happening? Don't we have the same thing happening where that you had Ethereum that was raising money via a token sale? So a lot of the same. But yet, how are they going to go back, and how are they going to sort of play this? Because you have Ethereum has already been given the clarity saying, oh, no, it's not a security, it's a digital currency. But you have some similar things that have happened that they're alleging, the SEC is alleging against Ripple. So that'll be interesting to kind of find out what happens there. It will certainly be interesting. Let's see what else we have here. So 416 Crypto says buying an iPhone doesn't give you shares in Apple. That's absolutely 100% true. But I think the key difference here is you've got a company that makes a product. So the company Ripple created, well, they didn't even create it, right? It was called OpenCoin. They just basically assumed that the project, they came in, was already done, and they went ahead and took over the project. And it wasn't necessarily like where they just created it, but they were behind it, right? So you can say that the Ripple, the company, was behind it. But at the point of where it became decentralized in the marketplace, the product itself, or even early days, if you were an early investor in XRP, where's your protection? Where's the SEC going to look? And this is what we're going to talk about, some of the relief that's actually being sought, which I'll get to, because we can't get through the whole thing today. But I wanted to sort of give you sort of an idea of what this suit is, why it's really, really well crafted, and why it's in our best interest if you're an altcoin holder. And I say altcoin holder because this has future ramifications in the United States, at least, of all altcoin holders. Now, if you're outside the U.S., you don't really need to worry about much. But I do think the way the U.S. goes, it would be stronger for everything as far as if the U.S. is given the green light and saying that it's not a security bodes well for the world, right? A good decision here is only going to prepare for liftoff. It's not going to stop XRP. XRP can't go away. Dogecoin, the creator's not involved with it anymore. You have Charlie Lee, who from Litecoin basically was telling people hodl strong and then sold everything, liquidated at $300 plus, liquidated everything. Now, look, the project's still going on. Company can be involved, not involved. It doesn't really matter, because if it's a decentralized digital currency, it's going to move on it doesn't need a company's involvement. So that's, I think, one of the key things here. Let's see what else we have here. Let's look at so Bitcoin, $33,000, XRP 22 cents. Yeah, that's a good point. Natawa Jackson says that's right, it is, and look, Bitcoin's been around 11 years. Bitcoin has had clarity. Bitcoin is the name recognition. The Model T that came out in the United States was the best thing known to man before it then was overtaken. Now, I've always been a huge Bitcoin supporter. I own Bitcoin. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think everybody, I've made this statement many times, that I think that anybody who's an investor in the digital asset space should own Bitcoin. You don't have to. It's just one man's opinion. The fact that you're comparing something to, correction, Wildstar says 32,700. Okay, it's oscillating around 33,000. Okay, so if XRP is at 22 cents, let's hypothetically look into the future, right? Let's put our future glasses on. Let's look down the road a little bit. Here's what could happen. The clarity, it comes around this thing. Ripple gets a fine. We get out of this. It's deemed a cryptocurrency, not a security, and all of a sudden, all things are go. That's one potential outcome of this. Now, at that time that happens, Bitcoin could be trading at 40 grand, $50,000, 60,000, 70,000. would you, if you're big money institutional money, if you are a regular investor, if you see that, you've been sitting on the sidelines, you've heard about Bitcoin, and that for many years, you say like, hey, now's the time to get in. People are getting in like crazy, and what's happening is the availability is getting less and less and less, and it's shooting up the price, right? There's long-term bag holders, there's whales. It's getting more and more scarce. On the trading side, you got the market makers, market takers, and it's getting very, the scarcer it gets, the tougher it's going to be to buy. You got more people that want to buy that can get at it. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily happened yet, but I'm just simply suggesting. Now, if you can buy one Bitcoin for 50,000 that we know probably, or at least a guesstimate, an educated guess would say it could potentially go to 500,000, right? 10 extra money. If you take that same $50,000 and put it into an altcoin or spread it amongst them altcoins, you could potentially 10, 20, 30 times your money, 40 times your money. And now what do you do? When you're driving the price up, you're going to see people be FOMOing in at $1, $5, $10, $15, $25. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's just the way the markets work. The more people you got jumping into it, it starts inflating the price. The more people that are jumping in, and you start seeing that thing rise. It doesn't take a lot. Because of the amount, because of we got a potential, there's 40 billion plus that's already out in the marketplace. There's another 40 some billion that's still locked up in escrow that Ripple has that they were releasing 1 billion a month. Bottom line is that it could really go up. So you start weighing stuff. Okay, here I can put $50,000 into buying a Bitcoin. I always say it's a phenomenal idea. But you can also put it into the altcoin, spread it across a couple projects you like, or 2 or 3 projects you like, and you have the potential. I look at Zill, for example. That went up remarkably. If you look back at what price was in October, yeah, I know it's come down a little bit, but again, look what you could have purchased. Look the kind of investment you could have made. And certainly, if you'd put a lot of money, if you'd put 20,000, 30,000 US in there, you could have had a substantial payoff, way more than you would have had if you jumped into Bitcoin at 10,000. Right? Just the point I'm trying to make. And by the other side of that token is that XRP is deemed a security. And what happens? Well, what happens? How does the SEC protect people, protect us, protect you from being an investor in XRP? Right? That's their primary fiduciary responsibility, is to protecting the investor. And that's what this this pleading here is looking for and seeking for relief. Okay, so Crypto Whale. This is XRP's Chan says, Crypto Whale on Twitter says the CoinMarketCap removes USDT pairs from its website on growing concern over Tether's solvency. Tether, I'm kind of shocked that it's kind of like slid by, because the whole idea of Tether is it's paired to the US dollar, I believe. And, do they have the equivalent in backup, right? Is it 100% backed by that? That's going to be interesting. I think that's a bigger threat. The other thing that I'm having a big issue here is that whether XRP is a security or not, it is a cryptocurrency. It's been utilized as a cryptocurrency. That's why I find it very difficult for the SEC to declare it as an unregistered security when it's being utilized as a cryptocurrency, right? So you got payment, people are getting paid by that. You got companies using it as a cryptocurrency, people sending it, people using it as a payment rail as a cryptocurrency. And this is where I think this is going to run into some issues here. On the SEC side. I don't know, but Adam says he likes cake, and that's always good. I mean, cake's always good. Cake is money, We like to have the cake, that's for sure. If that's how he's using it. QQ Lennox says, LaRue says, LaRue says, when Mullet. Hey, but when Wall Street is now involved, so all bets are off. They will manipulate the shite out of BTC. Yeah, and that's kind of some of the where I think at some point there's going to be a pullback because of all the pumping that's going on. Even though it's not a security, there's not a lot of regulation in the space. Now we see a lot of people trying to get into it. Alves says Grayscale buy XRP. They absolutely did buy XRP yesterday, as a matter of fact. I think it was like 12 million maybe. Yeah, 12 million for their XRP fund. Let's see. Yeah, Adam says, yeah, we all like the cake. We all like the cake, and that's why I go back to DM Logic's video that he put up today. He hasn't put a lot of videos up. He's always spoken his mind. I always applaud him for speaking his mind. And a lot of times he's gone against the grain. And, people jump on him and punch him and, troll him and everything. But you know what? Look, what I like is we want to have counter opinions. We all want to live in a world where we have groupthink. I don't think so. Yeah, I'm pro on this thing, but I'm also giving you the other side of it, the other potential dropout. The bottom could drop out. But, I have to share my opinion the way I see it. And my opinion could change. I'm holding on sort of medium loosely to it, but based on what I see in market conditions. But you have someone like DM Logic come out and, voice his opinion, and, he's showing you a different way to look at this. We got into it as investors to make money. Other coins are pumping. Do we want to make money, or do we want to be emotional? And then, we want to just basically, clamp on and go down. He had mentioned the point, hero to zero. I'll ride it down, my ride or die, I don't care. That's fine. But again, I think it's always very valuable in this community that we have difference of opinion and we have the opportunity. His Twitter handle is I am the debate. I think he's held up to that standard as well. And I applaud him for just coming out and saying that, and it doesn't matter if I agree or disagree with what he's saying. The bottom line is it's counter to what a lot of people are saying. He's the salmon swimming upstream. But again, we don't want groupthink here. I don't think anybody, I start to see more and more with the way censorship happens. We don't want groupthink. We want to be able to look at, we always want the exchange of ideas. I put up things here you guys don't agree with me on. That's great. That's what we want. You don't want to like, hey, everyone agrees with Chip. No, Chip, I don't see that. I don't see that that's the how it works. So XRP Chance says, my heart goes out to blockchain backer. He gave his opinion as he saw it, and he had so many turning against him. After all the work he's done for the community, he really deserves better than that. Yeah, and this is exactly right. These are opinions. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy that makes YouTube videos. But again, I have business experience. I have a certain amount of experience. I have a tech experience, so I kind of maybe come at this from a different way. I've also said that I've invested in projects based on technology. How is the tech? Do I see a demand for it? And then I look at other things before investing too, like what do their financials look like? What are their, what is their risk? How are they mitigating risk? Stuff like that. Who is their competition? So you always want to look at this stuff. Questioning stuff is very good. When we question stuff, when we ask questions and we say, hey, is this the right thing to do? Hey, what do we think is going to happen? Jeff and I come in here and we're usually pretty evenly synced as far as what we see, but it's just our opinion. The same way you have an opinion around it. If you don't think that this is if you don't think, VET, for example, a project that has a very specific use case, and if you don't think that you don't like the use case, don't invest in it. If, for example, if HBAR, if you don't like that, if you don't think they've got a stability and a way to grow that organization, don't invest in it. If you like ADA, if you say like, hey, I'm not sure about privacy coins, what's going to happen with it? They're not going away. But again, it might be more difficult to get. If you like that project, invest in it. If you think it has legs or you think it could potentially grow, this isn't about XRP necessarily. This is about the digital asset community. And it's great that we're going to have some differences of opinion. Now, what I want to go to is the relief that's sought, because I want to kind of fast forward again. I'll probably go through some more pieces of this, but I think it's important to know that going through the relief that's sought, because it's long and it really lays out a very, very good case. We're in good hands here. I always like reading something that's okay, so they're basically talking about the jurisdiction and venue. The court has jurisdiction over this matter pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1361, which provides district courts original jurisdiction of any action in the nature of mandamus to compel an officer or an employee of the U.S. or any other agency. Venue is proper pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1391E, as respondents are officers of employees of the U.S. or any other agency. Now, I want to get into this was specifically filed, I believe, in Rhode Island. Yep. Yeah, Petitioner John Deaton is an individual more than 18 years old, resident of Rhode Island. Petitioner John Deaton, who filed this. An individual more than 18 years old, citizen of the U.S. So talking about all the petitioners, James Lamont, Tyler Lamont, Maya Lamont, Mitchell McKenna, and they say Kristiana Warner, and they also talk about other similarities. I mean, a lot of that's us, right? And so what is the relief that's being sought here? Number one, The petitioners seek immediate relief, requesting the court order respondents amend its complaint. Let me put that up here so you guys can see it too. All right, let's see that. There we go. The petitioners seek immediate relief, requesting the court order respondents to amend its complaint against Ripple to exclude the claim that XRP owned by petitioners constitutes security. So what they're requesting right here is that they want to make sure that the petitioners, which we just read off the names of this behind this, are recommending the court to amend its complaint against Ripple. So they want the SEC to amend the complaint to Ripple and automatically exclude the claim that XRP is owned by petitioners constitutes a security. So looking for protection. And again, the opening statement of this really talks heavily about the fact of what the fiduciary responsibility and mission statement is of the SEC, which is to look out for investors, right? For an order certifying the action that may be maintained as a class action, certifying petitioners as representative of the class, and designating the undersigned counsel for the lead of the class. For an award of equitable relief as follows: imposing a constructive trust for any funds awarded against respondent on behalf of the class. So they're talking here as a certifying an action which could be a class action suit, that the petitioners, the people who filed this, who are represented by this class, designating it the undersigned counsel as lead counsel. So saying that should something like that arise, they would be lead counsel for the class. They're looking for an award of equitable relief as follows: imposing a constructive trust for any funds awarded against the respondent on behalf of the class. And if the SEC receives any funds from a settlement or verdict with Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse and or Chris Larsen, excluding but not limiting the funds from a penalty, civil fine, interest, disgorgement, or any other funds, those funds go into this constructive trust. For actual damages to be determined at trial, for any reasonable attorney fees, for an award of costs, for any other relief the court may deem just appropriate or proper, and for pre or post judgment interest on any amounts awarded. There is no other remedy available to the petitioners. All major U.S. exchanges have indicated they will either delist or suspend all XRP trading effective January 19th, 2021. All these exchanges delist and others suspend all XRP activity. The XRP owned by petitioners will become untradeable and thus lose all value and become useless. So this is really key right here. The request sought for relief here is to immediately go ahead and amend the SEC v. Ripple complaint to then include and protect the consumer, which is the fiduciary responsibility of the SEC, by saying that it's not a security. They're not holding on to securities. So it comes up as the fact is, what if you cannot, you have XRP in a particular exchange, you can't do anything with it, right? So it becomes kind of useless. Not necessarily what's not being imposed, or I would say asserted here, is the fact that they're not saying that XRP becomes valueless. They're saying that if you don't have the ability to do anything with it, there is no value to XRP. If I can't trade it, if I can't go ahead and convert it to my fiat, my local fiat, then it has zero value, right? If you can't do anything with it. Now, Uphold, on the flip side of that, Uphold has JP Thero, who is the co-founder and also the CEO of the company, said there's only two ways that they would actually not carry it on the platform. The first of that would be if the XRP, the volume was so low that it didn't make sense from a business standpoint. You're not going to have a token on there where no one's buying or selling, right? So obviously it would not fit their business model. The second one, he stated very publicly that until SEC comes out and declares XRP an unregistered security, or I would say deems it a security, then they would cease trading it. But I love the stance by Uphold, and Uphold just became my number one favorite, even though I have a couple of them out there. My number one favorite exchange, only because in the U.S. they're a U.S. regulated crypto exchange, the same as Binance.us, which came out and declared that they're going to delist it, which is weird, which is kind of weird because I think it puts Catherine Coley in a weird, awkward spot. This is not coming from her. This is coming from probably Binance, so it's above her head, the decision to go ahead and delist it. And as you guys may or may not know, Catherine Coley, we've had her on the show before on the roundtable. I think she's a phenomenal CEO and leader, and she's also an ex-Rippler. She spent 2+ years at Ripple. She's no stranger to XRP, And not only that, but to the inner workings of Ripple, because she spent 2 years working there, right? And then she became the CEO of Binance. I'm not 100% convinced it's her decision, but Binance.us is going to go ahead and delist it. Then you've got Coinbase, which is going to already stop market orders, and on January 19th, they're going to stop limit orders. So if you put a limit order before that, it could potentially execute, but after that, you're done. Now, what they've said publicly, Coinbase came out and said what they will do is they will go ahead and they will still be able to custody. Now, institution, because one of their big revenues comes from institutional, being able to hold, they have institutional custody. They also offer obviously custody in Coinbase Pro. They also have their own wallet. They're not gonna trade it anymore, but they're not gonna certainly do anything with that. But you get put in a weird sort of position, because if you wanted to convert that, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do that, and that's where we don't have real clarity. At least I don't. Maybe you guys have heard other, but I don't have a real lot of clarity around that and what actually happens. So that's something we're going to have to see what happens there. So this, if you see, I want to go ahead. So on the certificate of service here. So hereby certify on the first day of January 2021, electronically file the foregoing documents. They'll be available for viewing and downloading from the court's CMECF system. Further certify that the copy of the foregoing documents was mailed via U.S. mail to the respondents below. Being acting chairman Elad Roisman, Securities and Exchange Commission. So anytime you file something electronically, you make this, you certify it with, you'll see coming down here, right there, John Deaton is the attorney who filed this, and you need to notify them. He's saying that he notified the acting chairman via mail. Now they'll pull it up anyway, but it's just one of the formalities that they have to do. This was filed in the District Court of Rhode Island. Here's I want to see, there's something else I wanted to look at here. Let me just stop scrolling that while you guys can. Let's see, there's some other thing I wanted to take a look at here. Okay, yeah, so basically what this gets into is the whole idea that Coinbase decided to suspend XRP trading. B2C2 says it'll stop trading. Crypto.com will stop trading. And so part of it is, if XRP value has been cut by 75% at the time of this petition, is likely to fall further, costing billions of dollars in losses to innocent investors that have absolutely no connection to Ripple or its executives, including significant economic losses incurred to the named petitioners and all other similarly situated, which is you if you own XRP, the digital asset. Exactly what Chairman Grunfest warned Clayton would happen from the mere filing of the enforcement action declaring XRP a security did happen. Innocent investors, including the named petitioners, and all others similarly situated lost millions, multi-millions, if not billions in United States dollars. It's puzzling to understand why Clayton would rush an enforcement action of this magnitude as he's walking out the door, SEC's door. Puzzling because Clayton said, and the SEC have known about the crypto company named Ripple and the executives for years. It's not a case where the SEC recently learned a company was selling illegal securities and taking advantage of investors, and immediate action is necessary to protect those investors. As stated, XRP, the third largest digital currency in the world behind Bitcoin and Ethereum, respectively, XRP, although the third largest, was in fact the second cryptocurrency asset created after Bitcoin. In approximately late 2011 or 2012, that the founders of XRP started working on the XRP ledger. They see the SEC complaint on page 8. The XRPL operates peer-to-peer database spread across a network of computers that records respecting transactions. So all said and done here, I mean, what we're looking at here is the fact that, I love the fact this came out. I'm sure that John Deaton was working on this along with some of the other petitioners to be able to put this together in a really nice way. And again, so what I'll always do here is I'll always give you my opinion, what I think, but I always like to hear your opinion as well, because like I said, this isn't about groupthink. I don't think anybody wants a place where we're all thinking the same. That seems awfully odd to me. Some of us prefer vanilla, some of us prefer chocolate, some of us like strawberry or, some other berry flavor. I don't know. The point of it is that we're not lockstep with each other, and sharing of opinions, we look at our live streams more like, you guys generate a lot of it. Now, today I took a lot of time to go through this. Cynthia Thomas says, how long will it take the SEC? That's the billion-dollar question, Cynthia. I mean, who knows exactly how long it's going to take? A lot of people have asserted that this could go on 1, 2, 3 years. I don't see that. By the way, because this complaint was filed, because you had people who didn't agree with the SEC filing, because you have ideas inside the SEC that were floated, like Hester Pierce saying the fact that she floated the idea of having a 3-year safe harbor, giving a fintech company 3 years to basically figure out how to solve a problem, create a use case for a digital currency, and decentralize that currency. Later, it was kind of refined that, well, it only might take 2 years. But that's where I feel like, in my opinion, and again, it's my opinion, that, and this could change. Look, everyone's changed their opinion over time. When I grew up, I didn't like asparagus. Now I love it. It's like these are kind of things. You got to sort of weigh it out, and sometimes we see enough information that it does change our. Hey, Ali G, good to see you. Good day. It's nice of you to join us. Adam says, hey, this is all good publicity and XRP needs publicity. Now, that I agree with. What this will do is keep this in the news. People will be following it. People will go, I don't know what Ripple and XRP, I don't know what any of this is. But I had people reach out to me that were like, oh, isn't that thing you're into? Or aren't you into the Bitcoin? And, this was plastered everywhere. The SEC is going after Ripple, and everybody in the world was reaching out to me, like more people that I know. Either from mostly that I know in person in real life here, and then there are a lot of people from from Twitter and YouTube. But it's amazing to me that this we're living in an amazing time right here. I've always held the opinion, as Jeff has shared this as well, that there is a lot of cherry picking going on. This is what Stuart Adirati has stated. He is the chief counsel for Ripple. And, part of the problem when you go ahead and dump this in the marketplace, the Garlinghouse has been vocal about saying, for example, one of the things that, let me get a drink of water here. One of the things is that they cherry picked a lot of stuff. There's a lot of untruths, a lot of assumptions being made inside that complaint that I don't know that will come to fruition. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that happens. I want to see a couple more questions here. Would it kill liquidity? It could potentially kill liquidity. I don't necessarily see that happening, because Ripple has stated that 90% of its customers who invest in XRP, and also, I mean, not that XRP has anything to do with it, but the Ripple customers are primarily outside the US. So again, Ripple moves outside the US, they get slapped with a fine, they set up shop someplace else. That's where I don't see that necessarily happening. Let me see what else we have here. Don't think the media. Yeah, okay, this is a good one too. Ahutzal Rosas Mendoza says the media is actually promoting now XRP. Everybody's talking about it. Could go down to 18 cents again. At some point, it could come back to 35 cents or 75 cents in the long term, or $1.30. That's actually right. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we don't really know what the price is going to go. Sometimes it's been fun to think about what the price might be. Is that water or vodka? Ali G wants to know. It actually water. It's a little bit too early here to be drinking vodka, but I like the way you think. Let's put it that way. Vodka. No, it's not vodka. It's I did have coffee, but I drank that. That's my coffee is already gone, but no, it is water. Man, it's too early here today. It's 1:30 p.m. here, so no, that would be too crazy. So what they're saying, Hodl the Odl says, Hodl the Odl, whatever, I don't know how you pronounce that. But anyway, it says, what if the jury does not understand crypto? Highly likely. Well, they are requesting a jury trial. It doesn't mean they're going to, I don't necessarily know if they're going to get a jury trial. Well, it's like if you read the complaint, I'm wondering if the SEC understands cryptocurrency. So that's, let alone a jury. EdTech Consulting says, hey, this was done on purpose to drive retail out with the price down. The suit will be settled when they've accumulated what they need at low prices and the central banks are ready to throw the switch. Yeah, possibility. I mean, that possibility always exists. It could be something. Well, look, we've heard for years that this wasn't intended for us. We've heard from David Schwartz saying that if it were successful, if in fact XRP was successful as a digital currency, it wasn't designed to be 30 cents. It wasn't designed to be $10. it was designed to be much higher and very stable in the sense that, if you're moving cross-border payment remittances, 4 or 5 seconds, 3, 4 seconds, you want it to be stable enough so you didn't have the effects issue where if you're going from, let's say the UK, you're looking at pounds, and you're going over to India, the rupee, so you would be like, well, that's a highly influx currency. It fluctuates quite a bit, where the British pound is pretty stable. Yeah, I know it's as of late it's had some movement, but for the most part, it's a lot more stable than, let's say, the rupee. But if you're going between, you have those effects issues where you have volatility in the currency. This is one of the things that XRP helps to alleviate, because by the time it goes and it can go out and interoperable, can go to the local fiat, this is one of the issues that it solves. Now, if you start a Bitcoin transaction, you're sending it to somebody in another country with a volatile fiat, they may not necessarily, at the time of the transaction start, by the time they actually receive it, it might not be the same. So, you always have that sort of an issue there. So yeah, it's early, Allie. Allie's saying, yeah, it's early. It sure is early, but who knows? I mean, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere, as the saying goes, right? Or 11 o'clock somewhere. Let's see. So Adam says a person is smart, but the public are not. And when the general public knows what XRP is and how good it's going to be, then it'll be off to the races. Yeah, well, off to the races, the cue of that race, that first thing, that shot heard around the world, is Clarity. Suppose Clarity comes down on the side of XRP. Investors in the United States are exonerated. They did not purchase security. It's a digital asset. There was a fine paid by Ripple. What kind of shot do you think is going to be heard from that? What do you think kind of coverage this is going to get on all the financial media stations and regular media, mainstream media covering this thing, right? All of a sudden, it's going to become a household name. People are going to know Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, right? And they may conflate, Ripple, XRP. It doesn't matter. The bottom line, who cares what they want to call it? As long as a check. Yeah. So over on Twitter, you have Samar Najah says boom, and I like that. Yeah, we got a big boom right there, because again, you have institutional money that'll be flowing. They'll be tripping over themselves, and also all of the exchanges that delisted will be tripping over themselves to try to get it back on, right? I mean, an exchange makes its money in fees, right? So if you purchase, you pay a fee. Sometimes there's no fees. If you sell, you make a fee. That's primarily how they make their money. Now, I cannot blame Coinbase one iota, because the fact that they are right now in the middle of initial public offering. They're going public as a company. I think Ripple will get there as well, but they're going public. And who regulates that? The SEC. It's a very difficult process. You notice that the Coinbase added 2 prominent figures to their board. It's one of the things they start doing as you're going public. You bring a lot of great financial people, and it's expensive to go public. There's a lot of oversight. You have a lot of regulatory conditions. You need to make sure that you're being met. It's a very stressful event. If you've known anybody that's taken a company public, there's a lot of stress going out, a lot of gray hairs, a lot of losing of hair. So it's one of these type of things that can happen. What's up, Jake from State Farm? Or I should say Jake from State. I always add the State Farm because that's a commercial here in the U.S., so it's fun to say Jake from State Farm. Hey, do you think that they could somehow confiscate our SRP? I don't think so, because it's decentralized. No, that's exactly right. I don't believe that will ever happen. But again, you know what? Nobody predicted 2020 either, right? And in hindsight, it is 2020, right? I mean, so nobody predicts any of these things. No one predicted any of the major wars that happened. So is it possible? Yeah. Do I think it's likely? No, I don't. Not even for a minute. And I like the relief that's sought in this filing right here, which talks about doing what the SEC is supposed to do and protect its investors. Protect us, protect you from, now I've got this investment, it's lost a ton of value. So, when you have something like this coming up there, and again, it talks, even though it says these are the petitioners, it says anybody similarly situated. That's you. So that's like the XRP Army. That's why I said XRP Army is behind this. So, John Deaton, thanks for filing this this against the SEC, and thank you for asking for them to amend the filing of the SEC v. Ripple, because I think that's absolutely huge. It's a big thing. We have Adam He says, I'm in Ireland, and even we understand that America is the greatest nation on the planet. It's very hard to understand why America is lagging behind this. Very strange. Yeah, well, I have to say, I mean, I have opinions about that. I don't know if I really want to share it here. I have strong opinions on that, held pretty tightly, but others are held a little more loosely. But that I have some strong opinions around, and a lot of it has to do with. Let me see if I can put this the right way. I think the problem that goes on here is a problem that exists in a lot of countries, that there are a lot of good intentions about the way countries were set up and the way they would function. And I think that a lot of people are in direct contrast to that. I think there's a lot of people that have lifetime appointments. So you might have the leaders change, you might have some of the people, the surface people change, but the people that are behind the scenes, they don't change. They're there for 30, 40 years, and then that drags on. So what do we have there? We have something where every country has to deal with this. They have to deal with this problem, because the bigger the government gets, the more difficult it is to rein in and control. So I think a lot of the reason is, especially with Congress in the U.S., although you've had Darren Soto, you've had Warren Davidson out of Ohio, Darren Soto in Congress here out of Florida, which is my home state. You've had Tom Emmer. You've had all this great minds that are like, hey, we have to do this. It started with the token taxonomy, and had that gone up through Congress in the past, we wouldn't be sitting in this position right now. So Congress, the problem is they were set. The way our system of government was set up was they're supposed to be representative of the people. People are screaming and saying we want clarity, and they're off talking. They're off chasing rabbits down fairy dust trails. So they're off. They're more interested in enriching their own pockets. And I'm pretty sure I can safely say that this happens pretty much in every country. They go there with great intentions. I'm gonna fight for the little guy. I'm gonna fight for the little guy. And then they take him to the woodshed. And then they explain how it really works. And they're like, if you step out of bounds, guess what we have on you? And if you do this, guess what we have? And all of a sudden, over time, there are the ones that don't bend, aren't willing to bend. And those are the fighters, the crusaders. Those are the ones that represent the people. But they're few and far between. And they always get attacked. You ever notice that? They always get attacked because they wanted them to be knocked off. The other ones go along to get along, both sides of that. It's not a side of the Democrats or Republicans in the U.S. It's sometimes hard to tell the difference between them. They were the elitists were because people lost their businesses in the U.S. and because they closed them up because restrictions imposed on them by the government. They weren't at fault. They were told they had to close their business, so they lost their livelihoods. And what was that worth? $600. That's right. The elite said, hey, I know we're representing you, but let's give ourselves a pay raise. That's what was in that bill. A giant pay raise for Congress and a little bit of crumbs. So their pay raise was overwhelmingly a lot more than $600. So this is what happens. The elites vote themselves a pay raise, and they say, here are the crumbs in the fiefdom, right? So that's what they do. So there you go. Thanks for asking that, Adam. I really appreciate that. So alleges is saying Bitcoin is 43,000 in Australia. So that's in the Aussie dollar. That, wow, man, that's nice to see. Yeah, the big pump's coming. You got everybody jumping in. Yeah, right there. Icon Pawn says 600. They spit in our face. Yeah, and while they were spitting in our face, they were voting themselves a pay raise, right? Nice. And did they take any loss of action? Why didn't they step up and say we're immediately citing a bill until the U.S. figures out what's going on? We are going to suspend all pay to government employees. No, that didn't happen. So let's see. It's funny, your opinion's very different when you don't ever lose your $174,000 a year, as which Congress are paid, $174,000 a year. And once you're there in the House, if you're there 4 years, you're vested for retirement, and also if you're there 6 years, you're vested. What does that mean? You spend 6 or 4 years in office, you leave, and you get over $100,000 a year for life. So when you're in that position, it's real easy to make decisions. It's real easy to make decisions with other people's money, but when it's your own money or you're not making a paycheck, it's a very different thing. King Kenny, wow, King Kenny, I want to know what fiefdom you're part of, or where are your people? He says, I think whatever the SEC wants as an outcome, they'll get it, period. The U.S. government don't give two hoots about retail investors. They're only concerned with the big money, and big money is going to go into Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah, that's true, but here's the thing. When you have a magistrate judge and you have a primary mission statement that's put out by the SEC, and the whole reason for the SEC existence is to protect consumers, to protect investors, right? That's what they're really supposed to do. This is in direct violation of their fiduciary responsibility. So that's where I think this differs. And I think that any judge, I don't care if the judge leans more, on the political spectrum, one way, this side or that side, I don't think it matters, because I think that they're going to uphold the fact that how were you looking out for the little guy? What protections in place were you doing? And why were you out there yelling that Bitcoin and Ethereum was cool, especially when we had Vitalik Buterin publicly thanking an investor for keeping the company alive in 2014. But wait a minute, that's not that wasn't an unregistered security? Okay, got it. So the more I dig into this, the more I'm absolutely 100% convinced. And again, look, I've been wrong. Look, I said a lot of things, you know what I mean? When a guy sells his Apple stock at $9, he make money. It's like it's been around here a long time. When you sell Bitcoin, you buy it in the 200s and you sell it in the 800s, you 4 times your money. But there was no precedent set for 20K at the time. There was no precedent for it breaking 30K. Anytime you take any profits as an investor, you should always never look back. But you know what? Wish would have held on to it. So yeah, have I made wrong calls? Look, it's a human. We're all human. We make those things. It's just that I can't see enough. I can't see enough things that they've cherry picked out of this complaint where I can see this being called an unregistered security. Now, will they in part say that it could have been at one time? Yeah, I definitely think that's a possibility. Jake from State says, this is all about escrow. Think about how much it would be worth if banks use it and hold it. I don't think they would let Ripple be that powerful. Absorbed by Treasury perhaps. The problem with being absorbed by the Treasury is the way that our laws work in this country. You couldn't have a private company taking over. Now, who knows? All bets are off. But the way our Constitution works, you could not have set forth in our Constitution that. One of the things that I've always asserted that makes the U.S. Constitution amazing and phenomenal, that our founders and framers put it together, was the fact that it's a Constitution that limits the power of the government. It says, no, you can't do this. What a lot of people get frustrated about the U.S. Constitution, it's not a framework on what the U.S. can do. It's a framework on what you can't do. First of all, you have to protect free speech, the First Amendment. Second Amendment is that, you have the right to bear arms, to protect yourself, right? But it's not, that was written to protect yourself from what? People think from burglaries, from theft, from crime. No, that's not what the Second Amendment of the United States stands for. It simply stands for the right to protect yourselves against tyranny. The reason there are 330 million people living in the United States and there are over 350 million guns in the country is to protect the citizen against the government. The framers knew when they put this together that at some point that we were always one generation away from flipping over to communism, socialism, fascism, all of the isms over there, until you lose it. You're I think Reagan said you were one generation from losing it all. And is it possible? Yeah, it is. But right now, the Treasury can't go in and overtake a country. Now, if you live in Venezuela, that's exactly what happened. The government stepped in and took all private companies, saying, no, they're owned by the state. The government owns all of these properties. So by doing that, what happened? Basically, that country was one of the most prosperous countries in South America, and it went from most prosperous to fiat being just blown all over the street. It's just sad what's happened into that country. So I have to say it's been great. I can't pronounce that name, but I'll go with Ripple market cap reaches $4.2 trillion. Then XRP $100. If it's more difficult, $5 to $10 is possible when the SEC is solved. Yeah, it's a good point. A lot of people have asserted that it's not impossible, but if you look at the money that is available and the difference in what could potentially happen over the next 5 years, could potentially make it possible. But it's a good point you're making there. 5 to 10, reasonable when it's solved, but I actually think it's a potential. It really depends. There's a lot of factors going in there, but I like the point you're making there. Okay, so what I wanted to say was, look, if it's your first time here, we talk about this. 55% to 60% of the people that consume our videos, not subscribed. Okay, a little shocking. But if you step in here, you spend a little time here, consider subscribing. Also, We drop videos on the other channel. We call that the standard. We call this the live. Here we talk about live streams, and we work together, do little mini workshops and stuff and ideas and break it down. And we rely heavily on your involvement. Now, the videos we upload, if you go down below, you'll see the link there that we upload on the other on the chain channel. These are uploads. This is in my opinion. When I do one of those uploads, like all the other YouTubers in the community, I'll do a short video, 8 minutes on this. Boom, boom, boom. Review some of the news, in and out, right? Jeff will do the same. Now, Jeff and I will be live streaming tomorrow night at 8 p.m. New York, Miami time, Eastern time as it's known. We'll be doing that. We do the roundtable every Sunday at 8. Jeff streams on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. in the morning. So sometimes if you're overseas, it's very late or early in the morning. And also too, we started streaming a lot more about this just because there's so much interest. And the fact that I love talking about it, and I love sourcing your opinions about what you guys are thinking too. It helps me keep a barometer, and Jeff, what's happening in the community. Yeah, Twitter's good, but Twitter can be a cesspool too. You go down that rabbit hole and you're like, I'm gonna stay off Twitter for a little bit. It gets a little crazy there. So I will say that, and I want to just I just want to thank everybody here for being on the stream. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate your comments. As always, we'll do it again tomorrow night. Come back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock to join Jeff and I for a live stream. We got some cool stuff we're going to be covering. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more. But again, we'll go back in, we'll workshop it, we'll share some ideas, exchange some ideas, and that's pretty much all I know. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you on the next one. Chip out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.